Welcome back to Good Knit Kisses. I'm your host Kristen, and today we are going to work on the Drop Shawl. And this shawl can be worn as a shawl or a scarf, and I created it to be for plus size girls, but you can wear it as a scarf as well, and you can actually knit it to the desired length when you're knitting, and that will become the width of the scarf. Or if you continue knitting to 21 inches, you will have a nice shawl. So let's get started. Today you're going to need your all-in-one loom and your knitting tool and a pair of scissors, and of course you're going to need a tape measure. Now I want you to meet the inspiration yarn. This was a mulberry, actually this is a beaded mulberry silk, and it's more like a sock weight yarn. And so the test that I did is actually the picture that you saw in the silver, and it turned out so well, and I needed so much of it. It comes in 388 linear, it comes in 388 yards in a ball. This particular one here, and I've got all the notes below. It's from Joann's. It's a Sensations silver metallic. I think it's Enchantment silver metallic. So there's enough of it, but this one I actually didn't have enough of it. You need 200 to 300 yards, and if you'll check out my blog, you can see the different things that we tested it in, and watch at the end of the video, and I will show you different options for yarn choices and other alternates. But we're going to get right into this. So we are going to start by making a slip knot. Wind that over, take the back over the front, and again, and we're going to put this on our very first peg. All right, now you can mark your loom, but you are going to be able to clearly see where these drop stitches are going to go, and this is going to kind of blow your mind here, so just kind of watch with me. This is going to be a 3 plus 3 design, but it's a 3 plus a holding peg plus a 3, but it's not going to show up at the front. We're going to use every single stitch on the front board. We're going to put a slip knot on the front, which is going to be actually a turning peg, and we're going to wrap 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 that are technically wrapped. Then we're going to go straight back and grab a holding peg, and then we're going to wrap 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Now don't go too tight on this row here, especially because of the weight of the yarn that you're using. Now go straight back, hold it again, and then go to the front, wrap 1, 2, 3, go straight to the back, hold it, wrap again, 1, 2, 3. Do you see how easy that is? We've got 3 drop stitches, and then we've got what's going to be the end and the end down here. Now we can continue on all the way down the line, but I want to encourage you to only knit this as a sample and test your yarn. Whatever yarn you want to work with, go ahead and do a little sample with me and see what you think about it before you actually make the whole thing. But I'm going to show you, it actually will go all the way down the length of your board, all the way down to the end, and you will use every single peg. Okay, so stop at the end of your board. Now you can stop short if you want, but if you go all the way down to the board, at the end of the board, the length of your shawl or your scarf is going to be about 61 inches. So we're going to stop here for now. Now we're going to use this as a turning peg, and it'll be a slip stitch. So the beginning stitch is always going to be not knitted. So we're going to wrap this second peg in, wrap again, and then we're going to come back. And sorry, there's so much talking, but I want you to understand some of these things. So go back to your holding peg, and now we're going to wrap again, E-wrap. We're just E-wrapping. If you can't see what I'm doing, we're going to tilt this up. Here we go. We're going to wrap, go to the holding peg, come back down, E-wrap, go straight up to the holding peg, go straight down in between these 2 pegs here, wrap around, E, and all the way down to the end and back. And then we're just going to hold this. Now, if you notice, I have my wing nuts at the back. There are some covers and or replacements for these wing nuts on the market or coming, and you can definitely do that to replace them. And on this particular design, it's more delicate, and if you have to put this in your knitting bag, and by the way, I'm just knitting all these over, we're casting on, and if you're going to have to put this in your knitting bag, then you want to have some kind of bag to go around this as it comes out. This drop stitch is easily caught on things. This is meant to be, this shawl is meant to be more of a, it's more of an art shawl. It's very lacy. It's something that you're not going to want to wear to work or something like that. It's more of a date night out kind of thing, and just be more careful with it when you're putting this together. It's very easy pattern, so you may just make it in a few days at your home, but I wouldn't really do this project on the go. So now that we've cast it on, all you are doing is going back and forth in a flat panel until you get your desired width. I'm going to say length. You knit until you get the length that you want, but technically it's going to be the width of the shawl. So we're just going to go back to this holding peg every time, and so you can see how your pattern is, and see right here how this is caught. You want to make sure before you move on that you take that off, straighten it out, and continue on. Be sure and just keep watching what's happening here, because what's happening is this is measuring your drop stitches. You're not having to count. Like normally if you're going to make a drop stitch, you would end up counting, okay, I'm going to wrap the peg 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or how many times you're going to do it. Now on needles, it's a pain because it takes up a whole lot of room, and on the loom, you only have as long as you have the needles, all these pegs. But with this technique, leaving these sliders in place, which, I didn't mention, but you want to have the sliders on the outside part and use it at the largest that it can go. But basically, this makes a large measurement, and it's just a no-brainer. So you want to make sure, though, and line them up. Now, you're going to say, well, what do I do when I start getting down to like 10 stitches and this back holding peg is not, oh, look at me, I'm talking and I'm not paying attention. Okay, make sure that it goes back. Here we go, see? I do it too. Are you racing me? There's a girl on my Facebook who mentioned that today, that she likes to race people when they're doing loom-alongs on YouTube. So anyway, you want to make sure that to make this all line up, and make sure that there's a space in between these stitches here. So you're going to knit over. I know I was saying something and I've already forgot what it was, but I'm just going to continue on. Oh, I know what I was saying. Thanks for reminding me, whoever's watching and being funny with me. Okay, so you're saying, what am I going to do when all of these stack up? It's easy. You're going to take them off. But it's not easy, because there's a tension that happens in having at least 2 drop stitches on your holding pegs. You really need to keep that tension going. So when you get about 10 rows done, you're going to want to start pulling off some of these drop stitches. All right, so in order to do that, what we want to do is pull the top 2 off and hold them in one hand, and then let the others drop. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So if you want to push these down, you can do that, and see you've got a little line going on here. So I'm going to take these top 2 here. Okay, 1, 2. Hold them, and then you can take these off. Okay, now if this was in my lap, I could use my other hand. And then we want to take them and put them right back on. All right. So it's coming straight from this left side over here. So all these pegs, when it's a series of 3, it's coming from the 3rd peg and goes straight up. So when I take these next ones off, here, let these fall down and pull these off. Put this back on. And you'll know that this is right because you've got 2 in between. Pull these 2 off. Put them back on. Okay, and so these are just going to hang. And you'll end up getting this hanging area. I'm going to show you something on my iPad. To show you what this looks like when it comes off. Okay, see how it's coming down like this, and you see these down at the bottom. Now you notice I'm not doing any purl stitches. This may have a little bit of a curl on it, but honestly it gives it like this nice little drop. And here is another of the whole board. Do you see this all the way through with all the drop stitches? And this is my mess, and don't worry about this, but I do want to, I'm saying this to remind me to tell you, pull from the outside and not from the middle on this metallic little yarn, and it's like a knit, and this was that mess I got from the inside, so that's just a little quickie tip. And this is my test yarn. I wanted you to see what it looks like coming off the loom. It looks not awesome. This is the first test I did. And see how it's just kind of got these funny droops. It looks like one of those old, theater curtains. So, but when it pulls out, it looks like this. Isn't that fantastic? Okay, so it has this really pretty drop on it, and it looks really, really nice. So let's continue on, and we're going to show you how to bind off. So let's say we're coming back, and on this pattern, we're gonna cast on, and then we're gonna go back and forth and go 100 times. That's the pattern, and you'll get 21 inches. You can also count your inches as you go by putting your tape measure up, and when you get to a sufficient length, then stop. The petite form that you saw in the pink, that one, you can stop at like 12 inches. The middle will sort of hang at 14. The sides will measure at 12. The other one that you see in an art yarn that my sister-in-law is in, Louisa Mangus, when you see her, I believe hers goes to, I've got it on my blog. Be sure and go to my blog spot. I want to say hers is like 14 or 16 or something like that. And it'll go to 60 inches long. Now the petite one, if you start looking at all the pictures, what I did is I cast it on 3, and then I did 4 in between. And so if you do 4, you're going to end up with a couple of these less, and so it makes it shorter. So the less drop stitches you have, the shorter length you're going to get. So when you're finished, now that we've done this, let's say we've done our 100 rows. Okay. 100 rows, and you will be back on the left over here. We are going to do the loose Slipknot method, and this one right here is just going to require a little more dexterity. We're going to wrap between these 2 pegs, put this working yarn up on top, take our, I'm going to reposition the camera, hold on. So as I was saying, you're going to need a little more dexterity to do this, and you'll understand why in a minute. But make sure that you have at least about 9.5 yards left. Basically, you need 3.5 times the length of your shawl. Your shawl is supposed to be 60 inches. So what's going to happen is you're actually going to be tripling up the amount of yarn that goes all the way down the length of here as we bind off. So you're going to take your working strand and put it between these 2 pegs, put it on top of this first peg, go from the bottom underneath the loop on the peg, pull down and make a loop, and we're going to make a little slip knot. Pull through the working strand, grab that working strand, pull it, keep sliding it through until it gets snug. Okay, and it's a little bit loose because this is just a sample and I don't have much to go on here. And I did add some more rows that you didn't see off camera so I could be able to pull this tighter. So now we're going to go to the next peg and do the same thing. So grab one of these loops and pull down through the loop that's on the peg with your working strand, put it between this new loop, and then pull that taut. And it doesn't have to be super tight, but it does need to be tight enough where it's not completely loose here. So we're going to do the same on the third peg. The tricky part is going to be every time you have these big holding pegs, we are going to go around the holding pegs. So here's the trick. Go ahead and push these down so you can see clearly what you're doing. Take these two strands. We're going to go around the holding peg, all the way around and down, and make your loop larger if you need to. Okay, and now we're going to do what we did before. Going to go under that loop, pull on this working loop. Okay, so now we have this loop. Now, I'm going to show you what not to do first. Don't go across this area here. This needs to be open. Leave that open. We're going to around this peg. Now, I'm going to teach you a little trick so that you can tell which one we're going to have to mess with in a minute. We're going to go around this way. The temptation is to go here, and you can, but I want you to go around on this side. Okay, so go around here and then come down. Okay, if you don't do this, if you go across, then you're making a tight bind off, and this is not going to lay correctly. So now we're going to do what we did before, and we're going to pull through this working strand through the working loop. Now, I'm pulling, and I'm actually pulling a little bit tight. Do you see how it's going really slow? It's not because I'm trying to go slow, it's because it's very tight because of all these knots. So we're going to go and see how it's on this side. It's really hard to see with this color, but when all these are the same color anyway, it doesn't matter, you can't see it. So this top one that was right here, we're going to go and pull on it, okay? And we're going to pull this way towards the back, and it gives us enough room to start pulling here, and now we can get it tight over here. See, that's why I was meaning dexterity. You really need two hands for this if you can, or you need a helper. Okay, so pull this down, and I say that because I do have some people who watch who have issues with that. So now that we've got that loop is all tightened, just like we had tightened those, these three are going to go fast. We're going to do what we did before. Pull this down, pull the slip knot through, get that taut, and I'm just making this loop a little smaller. Do the same thing over here. Sorry, I'm trying to see around the camera here on the other side. Okay, pull that through. All right, now we got to do it again. So we're going around this working peg, holding peg, whatever you want to call it. Going to go through this middle part here, around the working peg, and pull on this loop to make it big enough to go around all this. Okay, so now that we're down here, before you do anything else, go ahead, pull this working strand through the stitch that's on the peg, making your loop. Go around the holding peg again, and down, and then we're going to do our little slip knot. Okay, now it's too tight, so we're going to pull on this one and pull it towards this peg in the back to give some slack, and as you're doing it, you're pulling on this working loop here and then tightening it up, and then you can make it smaller if you need. And now we're going to move on to this peg here. Alright. Okay, we're on the last one. Same thing, nothing's changed. We're going to go around the holding peg with this big giant working loop. Go ahead and bind this off, basically. Get that through there. And to complete the bind off process, you have to put this working strand all the way around and do your loop, and then tighten it up. Again, pull on this piece here to give it slag. And now that is nice and taut. We're almost done. So this bind off is the most difficult part in the pattern. That's it. The whole pattern is really very simple. If you have the time, you can sit and do this in a day. It's a very simple pattern. No purls, no wrapping the pegs, except for on this last part here. Okay, so we've got this last peg. We pull through, take your working strand one more time and pull it through again. So it's like you're doing this last peg twice, but now we can just take this loop that we just made and clip it. Okay, and then you just pull your working strand out. That's all gone. Oops. And now it's safe to pull these off. Don't be scared. La la la, it is off the loom. Let's pull it off. Okay, so this is my sample, and like I said, I did have, I had added some stitches to it, and in this sample, it looks kind of funny, but I'm gonna start pulling it out and showing you. So the drop stitches are all gonna look like this. So when you start pulling it out, now this is kinked up just from sitting there with the tension just now, but it will end up laying flat. You can lightly spray to block it, but it's not really necessary in this yarn. I didn't find it with my other yarn. I'll show you this here in a second. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Now you see that these knit ridges are here. I actually like to wear it on the back, so you see the back purl side. I'm going to move my camera and I'm going to show you the shawl. Here is my shawl. It's all bunched up. Now this is if I wanted to wear it as a scarf, but when you unfold it, you see that it has these ridges on it. So you can wear it this way, or you can flip it over. Has a nice design. You can wear it as a shawl like this, and it measures about 21 inches. So for the nape of the neck and down all the way to the back. You can't even see it in the frame here. Now, here's a couple of different ways you can choose to add some flair to it. And I'm not showing it this way, but you can do it. You can loop around and make fringe and put fringe on the ends here, or you could put fringe on one of the lengths here. Now what I would do is put some fringe at the end of all these ridges. So put fringe here and here and here all the way down, and so it has this nice little fringe hanging down if you like that. If you don't, it's going to have this nice little scalloped edge. Now if you add the fringe, it's going to hang down on here. So this, I think this is a very clean look and design, and if you use this design, then if you choose to use it as a scarf, then you're not going to have that extra added fringe that would have been on the ends here. So I just wanted you to see that. Now, here's one way to store it. I think many people will want to give this as a gift. And now this is a very delicate piece here. So the way you want to store it is either hanging it, okay? But you can get these things caught. So what I suggest is taking a Ziploc bag, okay? Well, it doesn't matter what brand you're using. And I've written on here the name of the shawl and who it's by, like if this is for a gift if you want, and then you can write your care instructions and the content. I'm writing on here hand wash and dry flat, and you can choose that from your washing instructions, or if you want to, if you think that it can be pre-washed from what you have chosen, then go ahead and test it before you give it to somebody. Test a sample. And then I've put the content on here, some people who are allergic, or if they just want to know what's in it. And then I've just written when it was made. just for curiosity's sake. And then what I would do is either fold it up or you can roll it lengthwise and then fold it this way and then just put it in the bag. And I'm just sort of doubling it over and letting these stitches lay long. And then this bag can be put into a drawer, or you could put a hole in it and hang it on a loop. But I think that this would be the best method, and this would also be a good method if you need to have some kind of plastic thing hang off the back of your loom while you're on the go to keep it from catching on things in your knitting bag. Let me show you the other shawl. This is the other one. I'll show you a picture of that one. And this is a miniature version. I'm calling this a petite, and it actually fits my 6-year-old who's very tall, who you might think is 8. And what this is it has 4 stitches going across, and so it eliminates a couple of these drops. So you would cast on 3 and have the holding peg and then do 4 and then skip and then 4, and you're just going across. So it actually ends up making, I just knitted to 12 inches and it makes a 12 by 54 inch. The other shawl is it's a 21 by 60. Then my sister-in-law made hers, and she, by the way, this one is about 200 yards and this one is about 300 yards. And Louisa decided to make hers out of art yarn, and you can use something like this. Okay, and hers actually has a little bit of a sparkle. You can't see in it, but it has a sequin in it. Okay, and hers was 216 yards in hers, and I think she had got about 14 inches out of it, and hers was also 60 inches. And these would fit a plus size girl well. And she likes hers as either a scarf or, and this one makes for a bulky scarf, but she likes it as a shawl as well for date night. And here's a couple of pictures of it coming off of the loom. So it's going to look kind of funny coming off of the loom, but you get the idea. This is hers coming off of the loom. And then I just want to show you a couple of options that you can use. Be sure and check out my blog for more information. And then this is the inspiration yarn in a silk. A beaded silk is actually what I originally wanted to use. And this is it wound in a cake. See, and it has these little tiny crystal beads. But you need to make sure you have about 200 yards. Problem is I have about 100 of this one. So you could use an art yarn. You can use a sock yarn, which is what this one is. This yarn here that we got from Sensations, it's almost like a sock yarn, but it has a small knit to it. And then I have some of this Madeline Tosh, which is like a fingering weight. You could actually use a couple of layers of this, couple of strands. But I thought these would be fun. Either this one or these sort of cotton would be really nice for like jeans and t-shirt kind of thing. So, you know, it just, the different look that you're going for, just change up your yarn. You are only limited by your own creativity, not mine. So this is to get you inspired. I hope that you guys are going to have fun with it. I'm very excited. So thanks for tuning in again to Good Knit Kisses for the Drop Shawl. I hope you have fun. Please comment below and check out my blog on goodknitkisses.blogspot.com for more information or any other additions about yarns that you could use or any changes to the shawl pattern. Thanks again. Happy looming. Bye-bye.